Thank you so much for joining us or staying with us here on All Angles on eNCA. If you have just joined us, we've been bringing you breaking news from the Free State, where the leadership of the ANC in the Free State has finally been decided, as they've had that long-awaited conference this weekend. Just a quick run-through of those results. The chairperson, or the new chairperson of the ANC in the Free State, is Mxolisi Dukwana. His deputy chair will be Ketso Makume. Secretary will be Polediso Motswane. Deputy Secretary Dibolelo Mashlatsi, and the Treasurer Matabo Lito. Let's go there now live, where our reporter Moloko Moloto has been covering the events as they unfold. Moloko, how were those results received? And what happened at the end there? We do believe you and the team or all media were kicked out of that space where those announcements were being made. Explain to us what happened.
Hello, Marcel Gordon. Well, I immediately after the announcement of the top 5 leaders who were just elected, I immediately stepped out to try and get some of the people who I saw walking out so that we can get a reaction from them. I really did not witness personally what transpired there with regard to my colleagues from the media being kicked out. But I must point out that this is a clean sweep for the Mxolisi Dukwana faction. All the people who are elected are the people who were contesting along with him on his slate. He has defeated his former deputy convener, who is also his boss in government, Premier Sisi Ntombela, and meaning that Sisi Ntombela missed out on that opportunity of possibly becoming the first female to hold the position of chairperson of the ANC at the provincial level in the history of the party. But let's get reaction from Mr. Tonyana Selebedi. Tonyana Selebedi is one of the 2 secretaries. He insists that he is the secretary of the ANC Mangaung region. You would recall that they were elected during the 2 parallel conferences. That's Selebedi. Let's get reaction from you. You were in there, you are a delegate, the results are out. I know you were not supporting Mxolisi Dukwana's slate. Your reaction, please.
I think the outcome of elections today leave much to be desired, because yesterday we have adopted credentials of 650 of delegates that are supposed to vote. After voting, we have now been told by the IEC that we are having 657 delegates who have voted, including this perception that we are adopting credentials with corrections. It's a new phenomenon in our organization. It's either we adopt credentials or we don't adopt them, but with corrections onward, because those votes were votes of delegates. It's not like minutes, because minutes you can adopt them with corrections. So what is there to be corrected?
In simple terms, are you saying that the numbers were decreased or were increased unduly?
Unduly increased from 650 to 657. Where does this 7 come from? One must ask, where does this 7 come from, unless you'll tell me.
What was the response when you raised that in the plenary?
I think you have seen it, Moloko, by yourself. But that all mics were closed. Only the speaker at the podium was allowed to speak. Yeah. When he wanted to speak and try to raise issues, all those speakers in the floor were closed.
No, indeed, I witnessed Kilebulewesi, who was until today was member of the Interim Provincial Executive Committee, trying to contest those credentials. But I also want to raise this issue of delegates who complained that they had been replaced by people who were not nominated as delegates from branches. Vusi Shabalala, who contested for the position of treasurer and lost, is one of those. He, leading to this conference, had been removed, but we were told that that was corrected. Do you have any idea as to how many people were initially removed, and were their issues resolved? Was that rectified? Were they part of this conference?
I can only speak about issues of Mangaung, where I belong. I will make an example of Ward 28. What 28 was expecting, we were expecting what 28 to have 4 delegates. But when corrections came back, we were edited to 6 delegates. That means it's an addition from 4 to 6. So it's a problem. How are you going to manage the remaining 2? Because delegates are elected or nominated from the branch level. If out of nowhere in a conference you now have an extension of 4, 6 delegates from nowhere, it's a problem. You take Wat 31. The same Wat 31, the entire delegates were removed and another new people were put in, including Wat 34. I can mention the same 3 wards in Mangaung specifically, where the same person who's a delegate here, he's not here. I can confirm to that. Yeah. So it's a problem to us.
We are often told that once leadership is elected in the ANC, you rally behind that leadership, you support it, even if you did not support that particular leadership. In this case, despite your complaints and grievances, do you support them? Do you endorse them?
Under that principle and understanding as members of ANC, in whatever form, in whatever way that conferences are held and the outcome of the conference, whether you like them or you don't like them, but you must adhere to the outcome of the conference. With one concern, and you must raise them correctly. And we are expecting the leadership to address these issues as an immediate issues, so that in the nearer future we cannot be faced by this. So we are appealing to the same leadership, including the deployees here, to address this matter and stop to be emotional when we address him.
Yeah, when I arrived here, some of your fellow comrades were clear that although they were not speaking to me, but they were saying this matter must be taken to court. Is that a view that you would support?
Comrades have their own view because of irritations and anxiety and issues that have been raised in the conference, because they were unable to raise their issues in plenary. They were unable to raise their issues in plenary. So I'm not sure to which extent they are willing to take their matters to court. But that's their view. Everyone has a right to take ANC to court on the basis that it was not being heard for by the structures of the ANC.
Donyana Solebedi is the secretary of the ANC of the other faction in Mangaung here. That Riley Ting Motati. So what is your response to this announcement that Mxolisi Dukwana is the new chairperson of the ANC?
No, let me take this opportunity to thank you. Yeah, it's been a very long weekend. What transpired here is very unconstitutional, as my comrade has just explained. We have adopted credentials with 650 voting delegates, all of the voting delegates, including the structures. And during the process, we removed 2 delegates, so we went a bit lower to 648 delegates, but the outcomes gives us different numbers, which do not tally with the expected delegations to vote, which becomes a problem. It becomes unconstitutional, which now leaves us with the question as to how do we then bless this conference?
Yeah.
As a legitimate.
With the grievances that you have and now the new leadership in place, do you believe that there's a possibility to unite and renew the ANC, particularly in this province at the branch level and even in regions?
Honestly, I don't believe so. I'm from Lejwe-Leputswa region. I think you know the media houses have been following up the story of Lejwe-Leputswa, where the conference was disrupted and delegates, 36 branches did not participate out of 58 branches which qualified to go to conference. It's slowly becoming a norm to steal conferences. We don't know in whose interest is that. And Comrade Dukwana himself was part of the processes who promised the 36 disgruntled branches that the process of Lejwe-Leputswa will pause and be allowed, delegates be allowed to participate in the conference. Now they have successfully stole the conference. Now we are seeing it in the provincial conference. It's becoming a little bit problematic. It's a very serious concern. It's a very unconstitutional, especially regarding the agenda of unity and renewal. I don't know what is renewal and rebuilding of this organization if this becomes a norm. Yeah. We've contested this in 2016. It was a norm at Paris. Okay. We ultimately went to court to dispute the outcome.
I just need a voice of a female here. Ma'am, thank you so much. What is your reaction to this?
Fortunately, I happen not only to be a female, but a delegate from a duly constituted branch. And fortunately, I was an observer at the election process. And what I can tell you is that this conference was flawed. It was flawed not only in that room where I was bulldozed by Comrade Mahlobo and Comrade Dinapule when I raised issues. It was flawed from the moment when branches were duplicated. At the process of registration, there were branches that came here, and you'll find that they are parallel branches. So these people, they did everything. They knew what they were doing. And they did it deliberately, simply because they knew that they wanted to steal conference. So when I raised issues of numbers, where you find that the numbers does not tally, the credentials of conference was flawed, because voting delegates were not even 6, but it was 560, and at the end of it all, it ended up being 580.
You did say that when you raised your concerns in that particular meeting where you were an observer, you were bulldozed by Mr. David Mahlobo. Did you try to elevate that at least to the plenary to tell everybody to say these are the issues?
I wish it was that easy or simple to raise issues at plenary. However, because the conference outcome was premeditated and they knew what they wanted to do, even yesterday, for us to endorse the numbers that we endorsed, processes of the ANC was flawed. People were forced to vote.
Were you part of the people who perhaps were discussing the grievances of people, delegates who said they were removed and replaced by some people? Are you able to shed some light there?
In my branch, it was a totally different story. They did not duplicate our delegates. However, our documents disappeared. The submission from the branch disappeared, and we went to Southern Sal, where the dispute committee sat, to go and raise our dispute in terms of with regard to the papers, or rather the submission that disappeared. And when we got, because we knew about this issue during the week, that our submission has disappeared. However, it reappeared. It was found.
Yeah. Let's conclude. I'm running out of time. What must happen now going forward?
I think the court will take its law, because there's nothing we can do. It's clear that for the ANC to do things correct, we must do it through the courts, and that is what will happen.
Are you going to be one of the people who take this matter to court?
Definitely.
All right, thank you so much. What is your name, where you come from?
My name is Malifuli Besa. I'm from Fezile-Dabi region, in a branch called Grisani in Ward 8.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. Well, you heard it for yourself. She's saying that she's going to be one of the people who challenge this particular conference in court. It would not be for the first time. One regional conference in Lejwe-Leputswa district or region where Mxolisi Dukwana, the newly elected chairperson of the ANC, comes from, that particular conference that said in November is now being challenged before the courts. So it would not be something new at all.
Okay, Moloko Moloto bringing us the very latest there from outside that venue, where the ANC in the Free State conference is heading towards conclusion, with those results having just been announced a short while ago.